and gentlemen, please welcome Frankie Boyle!
Hello and welcome to New World Order. We've had quite an eventful week. Been a lot of speculation. There's going to be a snap general election in October, and Theresa May will hand over to Michael Gove, who will hand over to Ruth Davidson in a sort of endless game of musical bastards. And I think that's exactly what this country deserves. This country deserves Michael Gove being elected as Prime Minister on Halloween. Michael Gove with his wee face like a foreskin being held up by two clothes pegs. I know we shouldn't attack people purely on the basis of their appearance, but for me, Michael Gove's appearance is bound up with who he is morally. Basically, I think that there's an enormous fourth-dimensional tequila worm that devours time, and Michael Gove is just the part of it that protrudes into our dimension. If you licked the slime off Michael Gove's face, you could see through time and change gender at will. Donald Trump announced a steel war. It's a lot less cool than it sounds. Basically about trade. It's like Robot Wars, isn't it? Think, Terminator. It's actually an old guy that's had a breakdown and sellotaped a butter knife to his Dyson. Richard Branson, he's talking about blasting himself into space. Part of his lifelong mission to find a planet where everyone doesn't think he's a cunt. The government has said that they're going to remove the cap on visas for foreign doctors. Now, some people don't like foreign doctors, but I've got a simple and humane solution to that problem. We simply let those people die. Theresa May says that her priority is to crack down on prostate cancer because she knows that's a key demographic for her. Old people who are so old, they've sort of lost their mind, they're almost dead. She wants to keep as many of them alive as possible to vote her over the finish line. If she's really serious about prostate cancer, get Customs and Excise involved. They're already sticking their fingers up people's arses. They've got X-ray machines. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me. Think you've left your phone in your pocket and you've got cancer of the arsehole. We're not laughing at cancer, right? Obviously, if you're my age, please go and get yourself checked out because cancer doesn't discriminate, making it morally superior to Katie Hopkins. The Independent newspaper reported on a leaked report from the Labour Party about how they're going to change how they deal with anti-Semitism. I thought it sounded really good, sounded really positive. I think part of the problem for Labour is that anti-Semitism is a really simple scandal for people to be able to get their head around. I mean, almost what they need is an even simpler scandal. They're probably all sitting in a room right now going, look, we don't want to do this, but one of us is going to have to fuck a kid. Miliband, put your hand down. You're too Jewish, it'll just muddy the waters. OK, let's get on with the show. Joining me tonight to discuss the week's big topics are Sara, Pascoe and Miles Jupp. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome aboard, Miles.
Thank you for having me. That was all very uplifting, uplifting stuff.
I tried to give them hope. What have you been up to?
Well, I know you'll be very excited because Love Island started again. And so all these, like, I guess old dweebs were tweeting, like, oh, it's really bad because more people applied this year to be on Love Island than applied for Oxford and Cambridge universities. Whereas I just think that just shows that it's much easier to get great abs than it is to get good A-levels. Like, it gives me hope. I got rejected from Cambridge in 1999, but one day I might have a really muscular stomach.
I'm sort of confused by the comparison, because I applied for university in 1998 and Love Island wasn't even one of the options. If it had been, I'd probably put it ahead of Durham or Bristol.
I think we should all work on that for the next series. Have a big abs
What,
challenge.
abs?
Yeah.
Just buff as fuck. Yeah.
We've got 2 weeks to the last episode. Let's just do that. Just plank for 4 or 5 hours a day.
I'm going to go on a proper hunger strike and just...
You had to make it miserable. You had to make yourself so sad.
So I watched Love Island for the first ever time.
What did you think?
I thought it's not a fucking island. I thought it was an island. Like, I knew it wasn't love, but I thought it was a real island. I watched it in, I can't really work out what's happening, but basically somehow they get to choose a mate and go on what they called a date, but they actually just put a table out on the patio.
Yes,
And they were like, oh, I can't believe this is such a great first date and stuff. And then the first thing he says, there's a silence, and he goes, let's hit the wine. And you're like, that can't be how you start anything.
You've never dated a man.
I think that's a very horrible assumption on your part.
I would love to see a gay guy try and deal with your fashion sense.
I really do need them to deal with it soon. OK, first up tonight. Humanity doesn't deserve the mercy of an apocalypse. These days, Britain's foreign policy seems to be to follow the United States wherever it goes, even into the numb embrace of the abyss. At least you knew where you were with the British Empire. They'd come in, kill a third of the population, and force the rest to play cricket. Now our elites seem to foster a state of almost permanent war, and arms dealing is central. Of course, you can understand why Americans have come up with so many amazing ways to kill people. They have to spend most of their time talking to other Americans. The US and Britain consistently use force without really thinking about the consequences. Basically, the whole of the West is pretty much psychopathic, and we deserve to be bulldozed into a mass grave like unwanted greyhounds. Joining us to discuss humanity's fate, please welcome Doug Stanhope and Richard Osman. Very much the dream team for me, Osman and Stanhope.
Oh, yeah.
Fucked up Jeeves and Worcester.
Just so you know, pleasure to see you have your own show. I've done 3 comedians' shows. I did a Dennis Miller show kind of like this. I did it on a Friday, got canceled on Monday. Did Louis C.K.'s show, but the good news is 2 weeks ago, I did the finale of the reboot of Roseanne. So I'm just saying, good luck with your show.
Are you worried about humanity's plunge into the abyss? You think we're heading for the apocalypse anytime soon?
I'm not.
No?
No, me either. Shall we? Let's move on to the next one.
I think what you're saying about the papers and war is people buy more of those papers when they say the world is a terrible place and terrible things are happening and scary things are about to happen to you. People consume that, so that's why they produce those things.
The whole of human history has been us thinking the apocalypse is just about to happen, as if we're special. And that's all you're doing here, really. You should be so lucky to get the apocalypse during your lifetime.
I think you're worried about an apocalypse because if the sort of scriptures are true, when the apocalypse comes, Jesus will return, and your fear is that the two of you will actually get on really well, frankly. You're worried about the consequences of that to your image. Well, you and your new pal, 2 of you, beards, quite booky.
He's got great abs.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
Jesus,
yeah.
famously
Sort of Mediterranean
good abs.
diet, yeah.
Are you worried about the world ending, Doug?
No, I have a short life expectancy, and I have no children or family, and I treat the planet like a rental car. I'm just gonna leave it fucking beat up. It's not my problem. You have kids. Fuck you and their future. I'm out.
It's so nice, Frankie, you finally got a friend.
Right. This week, Trump announced his meeting with Kim Jong-un is back on, so World War III might have to be postponed, which is bad news for the people of North Korea if you go purely by the enthusiasm for the apocalypse shown in this astonishing footage. They know they live on Earth, right? That's one, Earth nil.
It's just stolen from lots of sort of other cultural things. It's a bit like sort of Europe, the Final Countdown video. It's kind of reminiscent of New Labour dancing to Things Can Only Get Better.
I think the summit would be good, though, wouldn't it? Because, like, you know, I think a lot of dictators want to meet Trump so they can go to their people. Like, this is where democracy takes you. You know, in a way, they'll probably get on. Like if they'd actually let Gaza go up to Raoul Moat. You sort of know it would have sorted itself out, probably. Anyway, the global arms trade is worth upwards of $100 billion a year, and one of the biggest buyers of arms from both the UK and the US is Saudi Arabia. Here's an awkward clip of Trump showing off about some of the weapons he's sold to Saudi's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman.
Some of the things that have been approved and are currently under construction and will be delivered to Saudi Arabia very soon, and that's for their protection. But if you look in terms of dollars, $3 billion, $533 million, $525 million, that's peanuts for you. Should have increased it. $6 billion, that's for frigates.
Bin Salman's very much a kind of moderniser. He gets pushed in Britain as a kind of moderniser, but he's a moderniser by Saudi standards. Basically, women are now allowed to drive themselves to their own crucifixion. What do you think about this, Rich? You know, they're talking about post-Brexit. The arms trade is going to be a big part of Britain's economy. Yeah, listen, we have two parts of our brain, aren't we? We can laugh about anything we want to, but we do sell arms to some awful people. We have done for a very, very long time. It's a large part of our economy. It'll be a bigger part of our Brexit economy as well. So it's, listen, it's all well and good, but we are doing it, and they are killing people with them. No one seems to want to do anything about it, but it happens to be the case. The only person who actually does want to do something about it is Corbyn, God bless him. And I would disagree with him on lots of things, but at least he's one person who says probably we shouldn't be selling arms to these sort of regimes.
But it's also the worry about the kind of normalisation of it. That's two really powerful men sort of laughing about weaponry and how much is being spent on it, and they're not even looking at the kind of the details of it. I mean, why would you buy weaponry off a man who, you know, he's got to use a sort of primary school teaching display, you know, like the sort of graphic for My First Holocaust. Everything about it's frightening.
He's got pictures on a menu because he knows he's not selling them to anyone who speaks English, so they can just point at the one they want.
But the pictures are for him, surely, aren't they? Whoever his advisors are. They kind of go, there's no point telling him, and there's no point writing it down. Just give him a massive board with loads of pictures, so he can just go, frigates.
Yeah. That was a word he learned that day.
Right. The battles of the future will be fought by drones in the air and robots on the ground. One of the world's leading robotics companies, Boston Dynamics, has been testing the determination and resilience of their latest creation, as seen in this terrifying promo. I'm pretty certain that's already developed the concept of vengeance. I think he'll wake up one night with that hand round his throat going, "Do you remember the time you tried to pull my arse off?" That's how we're going out. It's going to be robots, you know?
But they don't definitely work. I mean, it can barely... You know, my cat can open the door. That took 3 or 4 efforts. It had to be beaten with a hockey stick. Also, any technology, you have to beat it with a hockey stick to get the best out of it. It's not quite ready to go on the market.
Also, in that dog's defence, they have to be programmed to dislike us. We're not worth anything. They don't eat us. That's why we're safe.
Also, lock the door.
So why does Trump act the way he does? Here's an enlightening interview with political theorist Noam Chomsky as he examines Trump's motivations and the terrifying effects they may be having.
Trump's role is to ensure that the media and public attention are always concentrated on him. So So every time you turn on a television set, it's Trump. Open the front page of the newspaper, Trump. And in order to maintain, he's a con man, basically, a showman. And in order to maintain public attention, you have to do something crazy. So every day there's one insane thing after another. And while this show is going on in public, in the background, the wrecking crew is working. What they're doing is systematically dismantling
to stand with
every
us on this bipartisan bill.
Government that works for the benefit of the population.
See, that's the scariest clip so far, because that's describing exactly what is happening in front of our eyes right now.
But this is the irony of talking about, oh, look, Trump wants all of our attention, when every week we talk about Trump. We are still part of that thing.
But what is Chomsky trying to distract us from?
When I was a teacher, you know, I'd see potential, because people would see a kid and go, oh, he's a troublemaker, he's a bad kid. And I'd think, well, if I get him a box of matches, we've all got a fortnight off. That's kind of what Trump is, you know, for them. He's this huge distraction.
I think we're all slightly distracted by the thought of you as a teacher.
Yeah.
Honestly, you know, being from the States, and this is not even a joke, that's the only way that he might pass some kind of ban on assault weapons, because the only time he's not monopolizing CNN is when dozens of people have just been murdered. That's the only thing that usurps him from the headlines, is dead kids in a school. So he might pass an assault rifle ban just so he stays always on the news. He's that much of a cunt.
What? I'm not the monster the tabloids make me out to be. Next up, everyone older than me can fuck off. Old people have too much power and are too right-wing. This is breaking down the traditional generational relationship where we put up with their bullshit in exchange for knowing that one day we'll get to kick them out of their property. Television and the press are filled with attempts to get inside the minds of middle-aged racists. Even on BBC Two, the average viewer is 59. For most viewers, our show is just something they wake up in the middle of. I'm not an ageist, certainly not sexually. Cover my cock in scratch card foil and throw me into the bingo, that's what I say. But old people like Theresa May. She speaks to them. Because just like them, she looks like she hates every second of being alive and like she hasn't come since the miners' strike. I don't get that many young people at shows anymore, the occasional self-harmer and welcome aboard. But I don't mind. I don't like culture that appeals to everybody. You know, that idea, oh, Grandad can watch it with the grandkids. And the job of culture is to make old people embrace death willingly. Hang in for another day, Dad. It's okay. I've seen Fast and the Furious 8. Get the fucking pillow. Do you feel there's a generation gap, Sarah? Do you feel...
Well, as the youngest person here, I think everyone older than me can fuck off.
I think everyone younger than me can fuck off, and for everyone older than me, 5:15 every weekday.
This idea then, Frankie, would leave you being the oldest person surviving, is that right? By fuck off, I presume you don't mean just sort of wander off somewhere, you mean...
Oh, I'd like them to be fired into the sun.
OK, yeah. Or something that with the same end result but is just more economical, the rest of us don't have to burden the cost of, possibly. But...
A hole? A big hole?
Big hole, nice big hole, that they've dug themselves, right, as part of the lesson. But you...
I'm making a humorous motion about the generation gap. You're planning a mass murder.
No. But the point is that you're going to be the oldest person left on the planet.
Yeah, will
You'd
be
be
you.
the senior voice of the entire planet.
Oh, you'd be this sort of mystical, wise figure.
I've got no wisdom.
Everyone would be looking like... Yeah, no kidding. Every single thing that ever went wrong would be Frankie.
Oh, you're
Frankie,
right.
what
This is
should
a
we do?
terrible idea.
You'd be the supreme leader.
Yeah.
So, as people get older, they tend to find their voice becoming more right-wing and unbearable. Here's one audience member on Question Time passionately sharing his forthright opinion.
I am born in Inverness. I am a passionate Highlander, and I love Scotland, and I will take a stand to keep the United Kingdom together. I will give my life for my country, as my grandfather did in the First World War, and his brother Charlie. Highland Regiment, British Army. I am British forever. We will never change. We will keep our union together in the name of Jesus.
I loved his coat. It looked like he'd bitten the arms off his straitjacket.
Imagine his wife watching that at home, thinking he's going to be home in an hour and he's going to ask me how that was.
I don't think he's a bad person. I think he really believes in something and then feels like the world has changed its rules without him.
Well, I don't think he's a bad person, but at the same time, it's called Question Time. That was a statement.
You've got to have rules. So, British politics is dominated by an older generation who don't reflect the actual makeup of society. But perhaps things are beginning to change with the appointment of Sheffield's new Lord Mayor, as Richard Madeley found out on Good Morning Britain.
How does it feel when you must have looked at the minute books of the photographs of your predecessors going back? And, of course, it used to be quite stuffy.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord Mayors were quite stuffy. You know, they were in their three-piece suits and their chainmail and all... Chainmail, their chain... Yeah. What do you call that thing around your neck?
Chain.
Chain, thank you. It's great to meet you.
No, pleasure.
How long do you stay in office for? How long have you got?
So it's for a year.
Just for a year?
Yeah. So it's for a year, so it's just got 12 months to really make as much of a difference
Making
as I
it
can.
count.
Definitely.
Good man.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much.
I don't know that was so much the gap between generations as the gap between Richard Madeley and humanity. I did a show with him once, right, and he was perfectly charming. Basically, the item started and they're talking about global warming, and they're talking to two climate scientists, and they're basically saying, look, Britain's going to disappear under the water. And Richard's trying to find some hope, and he's going, but look, you know, they said that years ago when we built the Thames flood barrier, and the guy said quite firmly, Richard, it took 30 years to build the Thames flood barrier. I'm afraid a large part of England is going to go underwater. And Richard went, well, time for some laughter. Have you ever done any reality shows, Rich?
Never have, never will.
Would you do Strictly?
No, they always ask. I always
Do they?
Yeah.
You don't do it?
No, I always say to them I don't have time to do all the training and have the affair. Would you do it if they asked you? But if you say yes, they will ask you, just so you know.
No, it doesn't work like that, Richard.
Oh, no, they will. I bet they would.
I write them letters.
Would you do it if they asked you?
You're making me be uncool, but it would be like my dream.
Okay.
So I am uncool.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
What do you mean? What did you say that for?
I'm just surprised by it. I'm surprised. It just doesn't seem very you. I'm not disgusted. Does it seem... I don't look at you and think, she must dance, or whatever I do. Why is she wasting time speaking instead of dancing?
That's the whole journey. You start off like, oh, I'm a comedian, I hide behind humour, and then you get good. Then suddenly you've got moves. You're going out with an Italian who's 24.
Yeah. So, do you worry about getting older? Do you find yourself getting more right-wing as you get older?
No, I think I probably get a little bit more left-wing. I think because you realise, without giving away any spoilers, we're all going to die. And you might as well be kind while you're on the planet, I would say. So I think you would get less selfish.
You just attributed right wing to selfish without any segue.
I know. Yeah. I'm from Great Britain.
Because the thing is, everyone thinks that about themselves. Everyone thinks they're on the right team, thinking the right thing for everyone. People are right-wing because they think that's the most sensible way for humanity to organise itself, not because they don't care about people. And that's quite often where we really diverge. We assume they must be selfish just because they disagree with me. They think the left-wing are idiots who want to do everything through emotion.
Entirely. Everyone disagrees with each other because their brains are wired differently. But, you know, kindness is the thing. That's what you realise as you get older, left or right.
You just talked about left and right wing as though they're two different specific opinions.
Well, like that bloke on the island, very short clip, but obviously votes Tory. There's a sort of binary to it.
Do you think that left and right wing are sort of the same position then? Is that what you're saying?
There's difference between left, right wing politics and politicians. So You assume, okay, I feed the poor, fuck the poor, but the actual politicians...
There's your trailer.
But the actual politicians are doing none of that, and it's just... We're going to just blow smoke this way, that way. It's all the fucking same shit. That's why I love Trump being in office, because he's actually a psychopath that will eviscerate the system on some level, because I'm 51. I'm older than all you pieces of shit. And I have watched the same shit happen. I remember from Carter on, everyone saying it's always the same. Democrat, Republican. There's no difference between left wing and right wing. And it's not just, well, you're greedy. Well, you know what? Sometimes, see, I'm going off on this knowing it's getting cut out.
Well, most of the show's going to be Sara appealing to be on Strictly Come Dancing. Followed by an inexplicable clip of...
Oh, Strictly Come Dancing. If you gave me the whole title, you just kept saying Strictly. I don't know what the fuck Strictly is.
Strictly Come Dancing. So, in conclusion, I turn 46 soon. It's an age where you realise the last time you gave your partner an orgasm was when they were looking out of the window and saw the neighbour reverse over your foot. And you realise that not only are you going to die, but that your planet and species will die with you. We're not the first civilization to have had this feeling, but we are the first civilization to be right. Of course, you do what you can for the planet. I've had 2 children, so I decided to carbon offset by buying a serial killer a camper van. Experts believe that in just 60 years, parts of Hull and Swansea could be underwater. But it isn't all good news. Hotter summers could bring law and order chaos to our streets, as the huge increase in tans leave the police bewildered about who to harass. In the middle of the Pacific, there is a plastic continent made from rubbish. We think of it as an empty continent, made from our old plastic straws and wet wipes. But it is not empty. The plastic continent is peopled by pirates. Where did they come from? These pirates are the children who survived being thrown off sex yachts. The child pirates are a jolly bunch, except for the occasional moment of introspection when they find milk cartons with their own faces on them. As economic inequality on land increases, the numbers of the plastic continent swell. Very soon now, an abstract generational war will become real as our drowning cities are pillaged by the garbage ships of the pirate children, as the lives we fed into the machine to make it work arrive with their plastic cutlasses, their suppressed rage, and their 3D printed nuclear warheads to recycle us into something more worthwhile. Well, that's the end of the show. Thanks to my guests, Sara, Pascoe, Miles, Jupp, Doug, Stanhope and Richard Osman.